Yay!
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm
Happy New
good.
Year.
Happy New Year. I don't know if that's still appropriate to say.
Oh, I think so. I think we in the first 2 weeks we could still keep
Uh,
saying Happy New Year to each other. So, yes, and how have you been anyways? So nice to
I'm
see you.
yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, all good, all good. And thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. Obviously, we had a little last minute scheduling, but I really appreciate you joining and saving my butt today. So I appreciate it. And it's a great book we're going to be discussing. So we're discussing obviously renowned blogger and author Mark Manson's book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F. I'll be saying F myself, but you are more than welcome to be say the word if you feel like it. Which was released in 2016 to critical acclaim, and the book lays out how to live a better life without, by caring about fewer things. So, first of all, Coletta, like, what were your key takeaways from the book? Would you say?
Um, I read the book a while ago, but I think for me it was a lot to do that we make our lives very complicated. And you have to not give a fuck if you want to live at some point. So I think that was like kind of like the beginning of understanding mental health and how we over do it for ourselves.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's kind of how I felt about the book as well, which is we do take on too much. We set ourselves to fail. So definitely. And do you think people nowadays are trying to do it all? And if so, what do you think the effect of that is?
I think there's two types of people who kind of want to do it all, and other part of people who um, want everything handed to them. And I think um, there's no one right or we can't put all the people in the world in one box. So I think there's all sorts of people, and there's do it all, don't do anything at all, and everything in the middle.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true actually. And what do you think the effect of is it like trying to do everything?
I think you know if you try to do it all, then if you set your expectations too high, then eventually you might fail. And it's about being realistic, if and accepting, and failure is part of learning, and like everything else. And I think I think the biggest problem is that with social media and marketing, we have this thing that you know we're supposed to do it all, in all sorts, when we look like we have these things where we like have to go to work and then be mindful and do this and do that. And well, the 40-hour week was designed when women were staying at home and men were going to work for two people. And then it was natural that, if you have someone that does everything else for you,
Mm.
um, you're able to go and work 40 hours. But when I go to work for 40 hours, and then I want to go to the gym, and I want to read, and I want to be mindful, and I want to be like healthy, and I want to do everything else. There is that um, thing where you um, have to kind of find a
Mhm.
balance between it, and and be realistic about that you're probably not going to do it all um, at the same time. So yeah.
Yeah, Dan Saunders, who's just below in the live as well, also agrees like it's outdated. It really
Yeah.
is very outdated.
So if you're trying to do it all, then it is impossible. Hence why we have like the Dan Saunders said, you have burnout, and then you have like you feel like failure, and your mental health is failing. It's unrealistic. So you have to look at life in a realistic way to see how this all you know works out.
Definitely. Yeah, and I don't know if it's getting better or not, or whether the pandemic is helping at all. But like, it's quite tricky, isn't it? Because yeah, I mean, I guess until we come out of this pandemic, we might not be able to really tell what is going to, how culture is going to change. Yeah.
And I think it's really hard to see because, you know, we can only see from where we are and what people around us are. And there's a lot of people who are not there, you know. We
Mm,
can't expect people who, um, you know, barely able to survive or don't have jobs and don't have money and their bills, expect them to be mindful or, you know, care about their mental health. If you can't pay your bills, you can't care about, you know, how mindful you are to yourself, you know, that's not your
yeah.
priority.
It's tricky. It's really tricky. And it's funny because he was talking about like the way to kind of focus on it is to find the right cause for yourself. And I was just wondering, so how do we find these right causes that we're like kind of struggle for? Because he said you need to have at least just one struggle in your life just to keep yourself going. And I was just like, how do you find that one and like focus on that one? Because I feel like I've got hundreds and I never know which one to focus on.
I think, you know, like anything, you have to listen to your intuition and your, you know, the it has to come naturally from within, you know. At least that's what happens to me. You know, I have causes that I support because that's what happens. Like, do I feel like I am you know, neglected other causes? Probably. But then you do, you know, you choose what's important to you, but then you're also mindful of everything else that's going on. You
Mm,
educate yourself, you learn, and you do everything else, but what you can. But you also you know, you don't have to do it all, and I think that's what is very important.
yes, yes, 100%. I think we push ourselves into this kind of box, isn't it? We must
Mm.
do everything, but also we've got this constant drive from above saying you must be productive, which is also very dangerous, and which yeah can cause us all to burn out. Really doing that. And you know, in so when he talks about sort of this struggle, he said, do you think it's possible to have a pain-free life? Because he says, not really.
Well, no, you can't. Like, just
Mm,
from like if we talk about, um, you know, you, you know, you hit yourself, you're in pain. You hit your little toe, you're in pain. Like, that's pain is natural to human life, but how you handle that, you know,
mm,
you don't, you know, there's but if we talk about emotional pain, you know, we have
mm,
the possibility of, there is certain amount of pain. You can either like accept the pain and move on and live with it, or find a ways to overcome that pain, you
yeah.
know. Or your option B is, you know, I've been at stages where, you know, where emotional pain, where I was like a pig in mud, just rolling in it and just feeling
Mm,
sorry for myself. But that is painful and that not sustainable. So you have to kind of go over and move past that and look
mm,
for, um, you know, other ways that are more sustainable.
yeah, no,
Like,
completely.
you can't live pain free, but how you handle the pain is, you know, it's up to you.
That's really true. Yes, yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, it's impossible. And then he also talks about like values and success, which I thought was really interesting, because obviously there is a difference between the two. And do you think values are more important than success for happiness?
I think it depends on what sort of person you are.
Mm,
To me, my values are more important than my success, but I will try, um during my life, to accommodate both.
mm,
I really do care about my values, and um do I sometimes sacrifice them? Probably. Uh,
yeah.
one or the other. But you know, as I said, like it depends on where you are in your life. If you can't pay your bills, you
Yeah.
probably will choose, you know, success, or as in like, you know, if you like, if you want to have a job and you kind of a bit disagree with what they do, but you need the money, you probably go for that.
Yeah.
Um, you know, and I really like then what
Yeah.
Dan Sanders just said, you know, what do you define success? And I think that's
Mm.
important, you know. To me, success is like, to me, and I think I've said this before, I assign a lot of who I am to my career, which is really, really unhealthy because if I suddenly become unemployed, I lose part of who I
Yeah.
am. But I work really, really hard. Um, you know, I went to uni to do what I do. You know, I worked really hard to get where I am, and that is part of who I am. Even though a
Yeah.
lot of authors, and I think including Mark Manson, would say
Yeah.
that you shouldn't assign those because you know who I am as a person has no value in who I am when I'm employed. But I personally do that, and I'm
Yeah.
aware it's unhealthy, but that's
Mm.
important to me. That's who I am. Um, and to me, like to me, what success is being successful in my career. Um, Success to me is to be being able to provide for myself. For me, success is, you know, having that because that's all I always wanted. You know?
Mm. Yeah. Because I had exactly the same thing where I identify very much as what my role is.
Yeah.
And then when I had a massive relapse in my health condition and I couldn't work for properly for years. And it just completely threw me because I was just like, I have to start again and I have to figure out who the hell I am outside of my job. Which, as you've mentioned, this has happened to you in a different way before,
Yeah.
and it was like trying to reassess where you are, isn't it,
Yeah.
without
So
that work?
yeah. So when I was made redundant, like that's my identity. Like that's who I am, and that's obviously terribly unhealthy. But you know, I'm not some sort of, you know, super special person that I do everything right. Like I do the best I can, and like not great. Should be a bit different, but this is who I am. Like this is what I do. Like this is how it. Like I probably at some point work on it, but I just accept it. Like, and I think that's you know what you have to do with by reading, um, you know, Mark Manson. It's like you accept that
Mm.
you know, not ideal, but it is what it is.
Yes, it is what it is. I guess it's awareness is the first step, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I thought that was a really interesting point. And also like Manson talks about like the values we should adhere to, which was okay, one should be based in reality, two should be helpful to society, and
Mm-hmm.
three have an immediate and controllable effect. Now, do you agree with this? And like if so, or not, like what values work for you personally?
So it has to be realistic, you know. I'm not gonna be like a
Mm.
Olympian swimmer, you know. That's you know that's you know. But then like I disagree. I agree with all of them apart from that it has to be immediate. Some things are
Mm.
not immediate. Sometimes some things are long term goals and they
Yeah,
should be. So you should have a long term goal where you're going and then you
yeah,
make steps to reach that goal. Because if
yeah,
we talk about that something has to be immediate, then we shouldn't care about climate crisis.
yeah, true.
We shouldn't care about the next generation that comes after us, and we should care about those things. And you know, our behavior, you know, let's give an example, okay? Let's say I have like um £10,000, and if like the outcome is immediate, then I spend it all without thinking about what happened. But I still have a life to live after this.
Mm, yeah, yeah, yeah. I agree. I wonder whether he was trying to do what in our last conversation about Eckhart Tolle's book, Power of Now, which is to be mindful of what is happening in the future. Does
Yeah,
that make sense? I'm wondering whether that's kind of what he meant.
yeah.
Um,
So you have to be present, but you're
mm,
also mindful of what's gonna happen. Like you're not. I'm not just here to, like, I am here today,
Mm.
but I still have to have plans for the future. And I think the problem with all the self-help books that, you know, they try to push for this immediate feel good now kind of thing, but you still
Mm.
like, you still want to pay into a pension, you know, because
Yeah, you have to.
when you're old, you would like to have some cash to live off, you know.
Yeah, yeah, no, I get that. I get that. Sometimes there is a kind of slightly unrealistic kind of
But as
idea
human,
behind it.
because I've been I've been on this course about behavioral science, and human as a human beings, we like the reward now,
Mm.
and don't care what's going to happen in the future,
Mm.
because, you know. So, for example, there was a test done on school teachers. So, school teachers either got a bonus at the beginning of the year, and then
Mm.
if they reach the targets, they get to keep the money. But if they got the money at the end of the year, they produce worse results, because not when you get the money, you don't want to
Yeah.
give it back, you know. So that's when you strive, but you need that
Mm.
immediate reward.
Yeah.
So you have to be mindful of that. Like, you can't be like, this is what I'm gonna do and this is why I'm doing it. But you need to then also treat yourself throughout the journey, because you're not gonna reach it otherwise.
Yeah, I agree. And like Dan also said, like it's not an instant fix, which is so true. You know, this is the problem is that some of these books just make you think it's supposed to be instant, but it's not.
No.
And but actually, it's weird because what you said about the teachers gratification having that reward at the beginning is interesting because I think that was also mentioned in the Atomic Habits by James Clear, which is obviously another very famous book on like trying to build habit. You need to have a reward system like in
Yeah.
place, otherwise you just can't keep going. So that's quite an interesting thing that like that's what they said to you as well regarding the teachers.
So
Yeah.
it's all about all of, so Atomic Habits and the book I've recently read, the Misbehaving as and Nudge, and all the other ones, they all come from the same idea,
Mm.
about behavioral science, and there's like six main theories, and everything else is based on that. This is why, for example, which we're getting off topic at the moment, but this is why they changed, the UK government changed how we get paid into you know, your in the pot for your retirement, is because they realize that people, you know, if you opt in people automatically, people are likely to opt out. But
Mm.
if someone tells you to opt in for something, you're
Yeah,
likely to do it.
so true. It's so true. They had to do it, change the system. I remember when they did that. I was like, yeah, okay. No one's gonna opt out now. So yeah.
And
Um,
and I agree with what Dan Saunders just said. 2 months to 13 is you know, we get our pat like our reaction. So I work in marketing, and we look about, so
mm,
when we design something or we write something, we are like, we have to make it short and snappy. And especially now with TikTok,
yeah.
our capability to focus, and we want rewards, and because the mobile and you know, phones are built and apps are built in the way that to bring that dopamine, to make us happy by notifications and everything that pops up, and that we want that quick fix, and we don't realize that you know, we have to work for stuff.
Definitely, definitely. Yeah, I've seen that too. Like every platform now introduces some kind of reels or, you know, some kind of like very quick, short videos so that people can consume rather than watch a long YouTube video as before. And okay, so going on to sort of the next point, which was he talks about like taking responsibility for our own lives. Like, for example, if something bad happens, we need to also kind of acknowledge our own role within that kind of issue. Does that make sense? I was just wondering, like, how do you think we can actually take responsibility? Because sometimes it's really hard to see your role in something.
It's not, yeah. You see, some situations happen to you because there were shit situations when you have no responsibility over that, you know.
Mm,
And you know, and that's just like, you have to accept that happened to you and move on, you know, because
Yeah.
there's nothing you can do about it. But there are situations, you know, where you play part in it and you also have to accept it. And I think I think I think taking responsibility is so hard for human beings because we like to blame each other, and we want to be these goody two shoes that nothing that hurt no one and don't take responsibility. You know, this is
Mm.
why you know, Black Lives Matter movement triggers so many white people because they're like, well, I'm not. Well, yeah, but you're also a member of society and you play into their role, so you have to accept that. You know, there
Mm.
is impact that you play. You know, every time you not call out a racist person,
Yeah.
you play into that system. So I think it always going to be about being mindful and aware, and you know, but you know, it can go to really bad places because depending on where you are in your mental health, you're either going to blame
Mm.
yourself for everything, and you shouldn't. You know, I had a shit childhood, and I
Yeah.
am not responsible for that.
No, no, no.
You know, it's not my responsibility. It was my parents' responsibility, but I accept that happened to me. I have no control. I can't change
Mm.
that. I have to live with that, and and learn a lot.
Mm.
But that's my job, and I have to accept that, even though I had no part to play in
No.
it. I got the cards dealt that I got, but I lived through that, and I have to accept that this happened to me. You know, I take
Mm.
no responsibility for it,
No, no.
but
Yeah.
I can make the change and change the everything that happened, and make sure that this doesn't go, you know, if I had children, so it's my responsibility
Yeah.
not to continue that trauma. So I
Yeah,
think
absolutely.
that's what it is about accepting, or you know, see what part you play in it. You know, if my goal, so my responsibility is now that doesn't go beyond me. You know, I can't
Yeah.
have children and then do the same thing to them,
Hmm.
because that I play part.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
it is my responsibility now to stop this generational trauma.
Yeah, no, definitely. That is definitely like responsibility for sure. And so I'm just reading through that Manson's law of avoidance, which I thought was quite interesting, which suggests that in order for us to preserve our identity, we kind of flee from anything that kind of threatens any part of identity. And so he recommends obviously practicing Buddhism, elements of Buddhism, because he suggests that identity is just a label. So that's a quite difficult one. How do you think we can kind of liberate ourselves from the notion of identity?
I think like I think there's parts of identity that we create, and we shouldn't run away of that. You know, I have a lot of identities. You know, I identify as a bisexual woman. I identify as a woman. I also like cisgendered and very happy with that. You know, and these are identities I don't want to get rid.
Mm,
But there is unhealthy. So first of all, always be aware, unconscious about what identities are, and what identities are being put on you. So there's a lot of identities, you know, we have sexism, we have other things that, you know, that shape us of who we are. And those are, so you have to be mindful, and you know, you don't, so you know, society tells me that as a woman I have to bear babies, have a husband, do all of these things. Um, you know, be aware, and be conscious, and ask yourself, for whatever you're doing, is it what you're doing because you want to do it, or because society tells you, and there's like the
mm,
role you have to play in. And everything
mm.
always going to go back to the same thing, is awareness and consciousness, you
Yeah,
know, and being present. And when you are present, there's a lot of things what you can unlearn and unwork.
yeah. No,
and not
definitely. I think
and not
that's
all
true.
identities are bad.
No.
And if you're happy, you know, as long as you're happy with those identities, that's absolutely fine to have them.
Yeah, I agree because I was a bit like, I'm not sure because I kind of embrace the fact that, obviously I'm in the, like originally South Asian and things like that. So I was just like, if I don't have that, it's part of my culture, people wouldn't really understand other parts of myself as a result. So yeah, that's interesting. I'm glad you kind of brought that up as well, because I was a bit like, I'm not sure. And so Manson also says that we need to accept our mistakes and insecurities if we want to see positive change. Now, do you agree with that?
Yeah, because that's once again goes to the same point. Be conscious, be aware, be
Mm,
present, because you have to in order to do any work. So you have to realize what you are. And
yeah,
obviously that's the hardest part because,
yeah.
we all like to, think that we're the best people in the world.
And we definitely don't want to acknowledge insecurities for sure. Oh yeah, and then obviously focusing on the now, which obviously, ties in with what we were saying with the mindfulness and also the similarities with the Eckhart Tolle book, Power of Now. And why do you think, and I found this really interesting, which is why do you think humans are terrified of death, even though it's inevitable? Because obviously that's a really big part of why we may behave in bizarre ways,
So
that
I
we're just trying
think
to run away from it.
so. Okay, so now trigger warning. I might piss off a lot of people with my answer. So I think because people are freaks and we like to control everything, we are scared. So, we want to be these people that everything we do matters and blah, blah, blah. Because essentially, that's why we have religion. And I am
Mm,
non-religious, and I'm sorry if I'm going to piss off a lot of people. Um, I truly believe that religion was invented so people could have, like, they would feel that they have something to look forward to when they die.
mm,
That's, we, because to think that we're just gonna die and that's it, then what's the point? If we have no, if we're not doing anything, so what's the point of doing all of it? People are so, because we like to control everything, and to think that we're gonna live for whatever amount of years, we have, and then poof, nothing, darkness. People are scared of that because
mm,
we like to think that everything we do matters, and then
mm.
what, we die and then, oh, party over. Oops.
Yeah,
So we like, because we control freaks, we want to control everything.
yeah. We hate aging. I know that. God.
We hate that that could be it.
Mm,
That's why people are reactive, or that's why everything we do is, we want to think that there is a purpose for everything we
mm,
do, even though there probably isn't.
yeah,
Like, we not all have to change the world.
yeah. It reminds me of the title of that book, Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning, which is just basically what we do for our whole lives, isn't it? It's just
Hmm.
look for meaning. Why are we doing what we do? Just kind of,
Yeah.
yeah, but we seem to really struggle with that idea that we might be just a blip in the history of the world, of the
Yeah.
universe.
Yeah. And I think that's the hardest part. And I think the problem that all the self-help books, like, for example, what was it called, the way they tell you that if you really think that you're gonna be something, you will be something. The Secret, for example,
Oh
is
God, yeah,
basic is basically telling people that there's something special. No, you're not special. You're as
yeah,
good as you are, and as good as
mm,
what you do. That's it.
yeah.
That's all it is.
And it's okay not to be special at everything. That's the thing.
Yeah,
People are meant to not be special because otherwise no one is. And
yeah. And
that's
like I think what people have unrealistic, like, oh, I'll be famous. Like, someone has to be a cleaner. We can't all be millionaires. We can't invent Facebook, and all of us invent Facebook and Tesla. Some of us have to be cleaners. Some of us have to work at the till.
yes. Mm.
We need these people. These are essential. And pandemic taught us that this is essential.
These are
We need
essential
these,
jobs.
you know, we don't need all to be TikTok famous, or,
No,
you know, or a millionaires. Like, I
no.
would like everyone to be able to have enough money and live well, but we can't all be that. We don't need
Yeah.
all to be smart, all to be intelligent, all to be something else.
Yeah.
We Everyone is still essential, and especially in the pandemic, we realized that celebrities meant nothing. We needed people. We needed nurses, we needed doctors, we needed people
Yes.
in the shops, we needed people to deliver us stuff. We
That's why they're
needed
called
like,
key workers.
yeah.
Mm.
So we don't
Mm.
need to all to be millionaires. It's pointless.
Yeah, I agree. Having said all of that, I have to ask you, so what rating would you give this book out of 5?
I went back to my Goodreads, and I realized I didn't rank the book. So I would say between like 3 and 4. So
Mm.
my rating system is 3. I liked it. 4. I really liked it.
Mhm.
But I still a bigger fan of the other book. So the Everything is Fucked.
Ah, yeah.
That
Mm.
was more beneficial to me.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so we'll definitely come back to then the other book because I think I'd like to sort of see if there's what the differences are really between the two books. So that would be great. Thanks,
Yeah.
Coletta. I really
No,
appreciate it. As per
no.
usual,
Thank
uh,
you so much.